accurately predicting a game that he somehow had the clairvoyance to know would be the worst refereeing ever. You'll get your points, Flashkey, but asking for them on the internet is conduct unbecoming of a panelist. Let's go around the horn.
You know better than that, William.
He always picks LA.
Gotta send him a text.
How was that a prediction?
Gotta send him a text.
Oh, I sent him a text. Okay, I'll text you next
Lawsuits
time.
over the end of games. You love them, I love them. They accomplish nothing. But if there's a chance we get courtroom sketches of Drew Brees or Sean McVay, let's do this. Civil suit on behalf of Saints season ticket holders to bring both teams back to replay the end of the game, which by league rule is still a possibility if we ever hear from Commissioner Goodell. That while the Saints owner Gail Benson's letter to fans and her vow to aggressively pursue changes in NFL policies to ensure no team, fan base is ever put in a similar position again. Bill Plaschke, we're going to start with you for a statement on Benson's statement and also where the NFL is in this.
Well, I was right in the middle of all that on Sunday. My Lyft driver taking me away from the Superdome after the game told him I was from L.A. He pulled over and said, "Get out of the car." They're that mad. I did not get out of the car, and he later relented and drove me to my destination. But this is a city in mourning. This is a city that had its guts ripped out. I cannot overestimate how hurt this city is. Benson is just talking for her constituents. She's talking to her fans. I don't blame her. I don't blame them for the suits. I don't blame them for anything because they're really in pain. It's not going to work. And it's over with, and the Rams are going to the Super Bowl. But nonetheless, I don't think anybody can blame New Orleans for the way they're acting because they are as hurt as a community as I've ever seen after a bad call in a game.
Israel Gutierrez?
It's emotional and it's fair, right? But it's a little over the top because there have been other fan bases that have done this, that have experienced heartbreak. Ask the Raiders, when Tom Brady with the tuck rule, ask the Dallas Cowboys with Des Bryant and the catch. Obviously, there's a point where, you can't overcome it. So you say, hey, let's make a rule change. So, when you talk about everybody being heartbroken and everything else, that's cool. Just, you're not going to get this game replayed. Just go ahead and move forward, ask for the rule change and move on. I understand that the Saints 2 years now have had this heartbreaking situation last year with the catch and run in Minnesota, but come on. It's clearly the emotions of a fan, and she is the greatest of the fans, the most important of the Saints fans, but it's a little bit too over the top.
Well, I celebrate what Gail Benson had to say. And you know what? She's a new owner in this league, having taken over from her husband. And you know what? Maybe some of those owners beforehand should have spoken up earlier so that this situation would not have played out as it did. I mean, you're talking about not just one egregious foul that was not called, but two egregious fouls that were not called on that same play if you talk about the helmet-to-helmet shot. And Bill's absolutely right. If you've ever been to New Orleans, just as a fan, I've been to Saints games with fans, and I've been there to cover games as well as a journalist. And that is one city that absolutely loves those Saints, and she is wearing the pride and the hurt of that city on her sleeve.
There's a city in Minnesota that likes their football team, and back in 2009 when the Saints beat the heck out of Brett Favre and it came out that that was part of Bountygate, I don't remember the Saints owners being outraged about that. So I agree with Izzy. This happens everywhere. It makes them look small time. Hey, back in 2003, the mayor of New York wanted Pedro Martinez arrested after what happened in Boston.
Yeah, I remember that.
The Red Sox. That's small time, too. So come on, get over it. You lost. It's a bad call. We know. Move on.
Bill Plaschke back in.
Frank, it is a relatively small town. That's the whole charm of it. If you say small town, they're going to embrace that. That's the Saints is all they have. This Lyft driver was like, this is the end of their whole year now. They have to wait another 6 months for something to happen sports-wise for them.
Right.
So, no, this
so
is
did the
a big
Vikings.
deal.
So did the Viking fans.
Plaschke's going back to the Lyft driver.
They got the Twins.
I'm wondering what your rating was at the end of that ride. I mean, because this could really affect your rides.
I'm a five-star guy. I'm a five-star guy.
Plaschke, you brought up that it's so great to see
them.
Benson talking here. Who we're not seeing talking is Commissioner Roger Goodell. The NFL stance on this has been silence, right? Is that making it better or worse, in your opinion, Israel Gutierrez?
I think it's making a little bit better right now because, listen, I don't think there's anybody that can tell you that that was the correct non-call, right? Everybody agrees that it was a horrible call. The NFL doesn't come out here and have to hammer the point home and say, oh, we messed this one up. Everybody knows you did. So rather than,
You don't think that would ease the tension a little bit, release some of the feelings
What are they
we
going to
have
say,
here?
though? What are they going to say? I'm sorry?
Plaschke?
I'm sorry we owe you a Super Bowl?
Yeah, Izzy's right. They just got to back away from this and hope it goes away because anything they say will make it worse.
Well, I mean, you could see it two ways, right? If they were to come out and say something maybe that delegitimizes the Rams Super Bowl, but also maybe it just allows for a little oxygen to be spent on it. and he gets it out of the way before we get to Super Bowl week. Frank, you have a last word here.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, but remember, the player that committed the penalty that wasn't called, he admits the penalty should have been called. What the NFL needs, they need the Rams and the Patriots to land in Atlanta and move on to the Super Bowl. That's what they need.
And all the Lyft drivers who pick those guys up, you know, I mean, they better hope that it's not Bill Plaschke that they're picking up. We'll move on. Philly voice citing anonymous sources saying Carson Wentz is selfish, uncompromising, egotistical, plays favorites. Nick Foles is universally loved in the Eagles locker room. So that report, which came out over 24 hours ago, response, Eagles players speaking anonymously. Lane Johnson, Zach Ertz, Fletcher Cox defending Wentz, telling the report that you got to check your sources. And if you got a problem, feel free to @ me, Fletcher Cox. Israel, let's start with you. Are you inclined to believe the report or the players defending Wentz?
A little bit of both, and I know you hate that, but you know, in terms of the integrity of the report, I'm not really one to question. I believe I had Hunter S. Thompson alive in 2010 last time.
Oh, you're digging yourself a hole right here.
But I will say this, though. If you look at the elements of the criticism within that locker room, it didn't seem that grand. It seemed like the criticisms of a young quarterback. He plays favorites. Well, you know, if I got Zach Ertz there and I'm still sort of learning the ropes, some even in year 2 or what have you, I might pick a favorite. You know, his relationship with other teammates, his wanting to do things that are better for him within the offense, well, I'm pretty sure any player would say things like that. So it just seemed like a young quarterback working through some issues. I also believe the defense of Carson Wentz as well. I mean, the man was an injury away or a non-injury away from winning an MVP last year. So I totally understand it. But I do believe that there could be some grumblings within that locker room. There probably isn't every single one.
Frank Isola, how about you?
Well, come on, it's a big roster. All it's going to take is 1 or 2 people to complain, and there's your story. And that's why I'm not going to doubt the integrity of the writers that wrote it. I'm sure there are 1 or 2 that said it. Hey, if you asked every panelist on Around the Horn, am I a high-maintenance diva? Maybe 1 would say that that's true, and that's all it takes.
All right, so
I listen.
The anonymous nature of this, Kevin Blackistone, let's bring you in, all right? Elbow patch mode, right? You're a professor of the practice at Maryland, I believe, is what it's called, a professor of journalism. The anonymous nature of the first report, and then, of course, the players coming out afterwards. How do you read it all?
I thought it was a poorly reported story. 2 months to do a story. Everyone is kept under a blanket of anonymity. That's ridiculous. You had opportunities to go to press conferences that were available to all the press and ask questions about this. You didn't go and do that. You had a chance to ask Carson Wentz, who is being skewered in this story in a large part, about the nature of the story and the allegations. That wasn't done either. Okay. This story, quite frankly, would not have made it out of my Journalism 328 sports reporting and writing class at the University of Maryland. Not only that, I don't think I could have written it at the Dallas Morning News or at AOL Fan House or any other place I've written just because of the way it was put together. You've got to have names. This is covering a football team and a football game. This is not national security where you have to give everybody a chance to speak from behind a closed door.
So now that we're on this, though, anonymous sources can work at times, are valuable at times. This is not one of those. Is that your assessment here?
Exactly. This is giving far too much license to the...
And Bill Plaschke, let's get your take on this.
Well, yeah, KB, you're right. The story may be wispy, but there is some smoke here. I think there's definitely some smoke here. The guy Wentz was 5-6 as a starter this year. I think this shows what the task he faces next year in winning this team over. I mean, it's clear to everybody, even without the anonymous quotes, they love Nick Foles. They win with Nick Foles. They haven't won with Carson Wentz throughout the season. He hasn't stayed healthy enough. I think we'll have to see. If he wins next year, he'll quiet everybody. But sure, I think there's some smoke there. I think that's probably legitimate.
Okay. We'll make that the last word on this topic. We'll move on. Brady and Belichick, independently on Boston radio. Take a listen.
You know, we've always gotten along great. We've worked together for 19 years. So, you know, we've had the same goals in mind for 19 years, and he's been just a great, great mentor in my life.
And certainly Tom played a big role, and, you know, we've had a long and very productive relationship, and felt good about it after a win like that. But I don't know how you could not.
Paddle, welcome to Dynasties. Frank, tension or no tension, and who deserves the credit for making it work?
Well, the proof is in the pudding. It's the most successful head coach quarterback tandem of all time in the NFL. Is there times where their relationship is a little rocky? Absolutely. But look at the results. That's all that matters. That's all the fans care about. That's all they should care about. I give them both credit, but remember this. Bill Belichick designed a defense that beat Patrick Mahomes twice. They gave up a lot of yards. They still beat
Bill
him.
Plaschke?
One on the road.
Yes, I think it's tension, but it's creative tension, and it works for both of them. And I agree with Frank. This is about Belichick. Without Belichick, I really believe Tom Brady is not the quarterback he is without Belichick.
Yes, you've said this. You've said this for about 15 years. I believe we've heard this over and over again from you.
I just think it's Belichick. I think it's Belichick.
Mm-hmm. Israel Gutierrez?
You tell me any 19-year relationship that does not have moments of extreme tension within it, and you'll show me the first one. So I think there has been tension, but I think they obviously have the same goal in mind. In terms of who deserves more credit, I'd say right now it feels like Belichick is kind of the starting pitcher and Brady's the closer, right? I mean, you had the game plan, you had everything in place, he had to run the ball. Brady was basically a decoy. And then at the end, when you need him, 3 3rd and 10s, bam, 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 I'm Tom Brady, greatest of all time.
Kevin Blackstone?
Look, I'm sure that a lot of people, if you're with somebody for that long, you have your moments where you don't want to see that person or talk to that person. Clearly,
I feel like you guys are talking to me right now. I really feel like this is really directed at me.
I am. Right, present company excluded.
Thank you.
But I will say this. After watching that last drive by Tom Brady, I don't care, the plays may be called by the sidelines, but those pinpoint passes that he made and the fact that you knew that if he had time on the clock or was given an opportunity to win that game, he was going to do it. I've got to say that Brady makes a difference.
And I just want to correct Dizzy about one thing. It's not bang, bang, bang. It's dink, dink, dink.
Thank you very much. Back after this, of course. All right. You see the scores in front of you. Nope, nobody's giving me a little credit for David Attenborough. David Attenborough. Are you guys watching BBC? Dynasties? He calls it Dynasties. Yes. It's awesome. And he calls it Dynasties. How great is that? We'll be back by yourself.
Wait till the village voice.
North African lion in the savannah. Yes, of course.
Around the Horn is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Kevin and the family Stone taking you higher. He's our leader. We'll see how it shakes out with the next 3 topics. Records set or tied by Klay Thompson last night while going for 44 on 10 of 10 from 3. It was the most threes without a miss, tying that record. He had the highest effective field goal percentage in NBA history and the fewest dribbles in a 40-point game in NBA history. Plashke, you were witnessing this game. This is your demographic. They beat the Lakers. What are you buying? What are you selling? From what you see from Klay last night and what you see from Klay this year.
I'm buying the fact that more than any player in the NBA, he can change a game alone with his shooting. The Warriors in his career are 13-0 when he scores 40 or more points because of the way he scores them. This will greatly increase his value as a free agent. He would look really good in a Laker uniform next to LeBron.
Okay, we knew that would get to that. More than any player in the game, he could change the game with his shooting. More than Steph, more than James Harden. Israel, how about you?
Look, I'm saying that this makes the Warriors even scarier than they were before. If you think about, they had some problems. They had Draymond and KD beefing. They have to worry about Boogie Cousins when he comes back. No, they're just getting into form now, and that's while Boogie has time to get into form himself. I think it's going to be scary if they stay healthy.
Yeah, you could see more of this coming up now with Boogie in that lineup to eat up the middle and create even more space. And it just reminds me that what we're witnessing is possibly the greatest catch-and-shoot player in the history of the NBA.
Well, of course. I mean, we've been there for years, wouldn't you say? I mean, the stats about the dribbles, I'm sure Bob Ryan wasn't calculating that for Havlicek, but Havlicek was playing 45 years ago. But the idea of what he brings to the table that's different than anybody else in the league, Frank Isola.
Well, I think he's a consummate team guy, and on a team with all these stars, he's willing to be the guy that doesn't say, I need to be the star of this team. I need to get my shots. This wasn't even his best game of the season. He had 52 with 14 three-pointers in 27 minutes back in October against Chicago.
It's the intriguing thing about him when Plashke does what Plashke does and just projects forward where he could play. But the idea, could he be a number 1 somewhere? Could he be a number 2 somewhere? Does his game translate to that or not? Here he is. He's number 4 on the champs. We'll move on. Buy or sell 2. This was a headline from Kevin Pelton, ESPN.com. Could Carmelo Anthony help the Lakers now that he's available? Anybody? Just yell it out right now. Could Carmelo help the Lakers?
No.
I'll take that as a no. Frank said maybe. Okay. Staying on the Lakers, LeBron's missed 14 games. Rondo Ball's been hurt too. Lakers have fallen out of the playoffs. Bill, this is your account as well. What's the level of urgency in Lakerland to get LeBron back in the lineup?
Frank, you said maybe on Melo. Did you really say that, Frank? Of course he said that. The Lakers are of course he's your guy. The Lakers are very concerned about this high level of urgency on this. The more LeBron is gone, the more they risk not getting a good playoff seed. And if they go in the first round and out, that's going to make them less attractive to free agents. Also, the more that these kids are exposed, these kids that they want to trade for Anthony Davis, Brandon Ingram, totally exposed. Lonzo Ball, exposed as injury prone. So this is not doing them any good on any level.
Israel Gutierrez?
You're also talking about almost resetting the chemistry here where you've got about a month off with LeBron on the bench there. And, yeah, that's a difficult thing to do, especially when they just got together. So I'd have and LeBron doesn't miss this many games in a row. He doesn't miss this many, so he's going to have more rust than usual. So it's going to be difficult.
KB?
This was already LeBron James's heaviest weight to bear, right, since he first left Cleveland to drag a team into the playoffs and hopefully to an NBA Finals. So it is doubly difficult now with all these injuries and the age that
Okay, but what I heard initially when he signed, this wasn't just about 1 year. This is about the long term here. I mean, a free agent is going to refuse to sign with L.A. this summer because LeBron missed 15 games in the middle of the season with a groin. Frank, you think so, Bill?
It's absolutely 5-5. They think he's injury prone again now. He's getting older.
Frank, buy or sell where the Lakers are right now? Anxiety about LeBron's health.
Here's my thing about LeBron. When they signed him, they talked about it like he was 27 years old. He turned 34 on December 30th. He's played a lot of games. In this injury now, he should not come back until he's 100%. By the way, they're only one game out of 8th place since he's gone out of the lineup.
But he's been superhuman his whole career. We haven't seen this before, as Israel said. We'll move on. Buy or sell 3. Kawhi Leonard sitting out tonight versus the Kings. 3rd straight game of load management, as the Raptors call it. Nick Nurse actually called it scheduled maintenance checkup. They're treating him like he's a J.D. Power-ranked pickup truck #1 in his class. Raptors playing the first of a back-to-back, which should actually be a front-to-front, guys. I'm going to start docking points if you're not going with the front-to-front. Israel, buy or sell on the load management?
Well, I'm buying it, and not just, the beginning of a back-to-back or a front-to-front, but also load management is a real thing. Not every game is created equal. Some games have more pace, there's less stoppages, so it's more weight, it's more work on a guy's body. They measure these things, and a lot of these days off have been planned 2-3 weeks ahead as well.
KB?
I'm buying it. They're treating him not like a pickup truck, but like a Ferrari, because that's what he is. And they need him to go forward. He's the big piece. Nick Nurse, in his first year as a head coach, needs that guy healthy when it comes necessary, and that is playoffs.
Tony, it's obvious that they're babying Kawhi Leonard, and rightfully so. He's a bit of an aloof guy. And here's the bottom line. They're 10-2. Without him in the lineup. So whatever they're doing is working out. They're surviving.
But you'd call this babying. Israel, you had a great point. The idea about Sacramento plays a different brand of basketball than, let's say, the New York Knicks a game. Bill Plaschke, how about you?
Everybody's missing the point. It's not about this year. It's about next year. What's the one thing that separated Kawhi from the Spurs? Questions about his health. He thought they didn't take his health seriously. They're saying, Kawhi, we take your health very seriously here. We'll do what you want to do to get yourself right. This is about re-signing him. That's what this is about.
Bill, that's your answer for absolutely every topic. Every NBA topic is, well, free agency should predict that this is going to happen.
It is. That's what these teams, that's what the league's all about.
Well, this elimination isn't about today. It's actually about next year, so don't worry about it, Bill Plaschke.
You want my rant?
Frank Isola as well. No, Frank, whoa, come back to us, Frank. I hit the wrong button. Israel Gutierrez is going to come back to us, Frank, please.
No.
Oh, my goodness, that never happens. Here they are. #1 ranked in their class, J.D. Power. Frank Isola with us. Kevin Blackistone, Showdown next. What's happening, Rhea? Bone and ice in Showdown. Best of luck, gentlemen. Showdown 1, Sixers 121, Rockets 93. Embiid went for 32-14. Harden for 37, didn't even play the 4th quarter. And here is Embiid stepping over Harden. This is one game after his dust-up with Russell Westbrook. KB, how do you see that? And does Embiid need to pick on someone his own size?
No, it's okay for Embiid to pick on James Harden. You remember James Harden breaking people's ankles and standing over him and staring at him before dropping a 3 on him? You know what? He's a big boy. He can take that as well.
I think he is picking on guys of his own size in terms of stature in the NBA. Russell Westbrook, James Harden. Although last year in the playoffs against Boston, Joel Embiid did not want any part of Aaron Baines. We'll see if that happens this year, because you know they're probably going to meet in the playoffs at some point.
Showdown 2, Baseball Hall of Fame announcement in 32 minutes. Mariano Rivera, how close to unanimous? Roy Halladay, is he in? Edgar Martinez, is he in? Andrew Jones. Frank, who's in? Who's close? Who's out? What are you watching for?
Come on. Come on, Tony. We have a vested interest in this one. Mariano Rivera, classy pitcher, classy guy off the field. He'll come close to being unanimous. Won't be. I do think Edgar's in, Roy Halladay, and also, I know, don't say anything, Clemens and Bonds. I'm putting them in.
No, the only thing to watch is Rivera. It is amazing to me that in all these years of voting for the Baseball Hall of Fame that there has not been a unanimous selection. And how is it possible, I know how it's possible, but how is it seriously possible that Rivera would not be the first one to break this?
It's not exactly surprising when you look at the ballots that are posted by
that's what I'm saying.
people. Nothing is unanimous, but we'll allow Kevin Blackistone to be unanimously the FaceTime winner for today.
Ooh.
I was at the Indigenous Peoples March over the weekend down here in Washington, D.C., which I'm sure you've heard about. And I just want to shout out one person who was there, and that's Callie Reese, who you may not have heard of, but she is the first Native American woman to own a boxing title, WBC middleweight fighter. And she gave a spectacular speech there, inspiring speech about where Indigenous women are in this country, how they need to be respected, and how all of her people need to be respected. It's a shame that we didn't pay attention to her and paid attention to some other things that happened there.
Kevin Blackistone, today's champion. We're on a 23.5-hour break. We'll see you tomorrow.